Blimey, we've not done this for a while. Hello, good evening. Hopefully notifications will be coming through. I am on here with my beautiful gentleman to the right on your screen to discuss everything that's happened in Pompey's window thus far. We say thus far, the window has shut. We now know that we're having drip feedings of various different bits and pieces. We're going to run through it all. We're not going to be here for absolutely ages, but we are here nonetheless. Good evening, Mr. Jack Ward. How are you? Thank you for coming on.
I'm all right, mate. You got me out of bed for this. So hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's a good chat. A classic deadline day, isn't it? Lots of moves. We've had, well, to be fair, we've had some good deadline days over the years. This is taking us, it's taking me back.
69. I told you. I told you the people would come through and join us. I told you that that was going to happen, and they have done. Yeah, Jack's very kindly agreed to come on and chat to me. As you can probably tell, this is relatively impromptu. Wardy, would you like to tell everyone at what time of the evening I messaged you to ask you if you wanted to come on and join me?
Probably about 20 minutes ago.
But
And that's it was 20
that is
minutes
genuinely
ago.
not an exaggeration. It was genuinely 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Danny's ready. Good evening to Mr. Pepe Lacey, who joins us. He's still a moderator on the
Long
channel.
time no see.
Bobby asked if there's any more. We will very soon find out. Hello to
No.
Lewis. He's done his 30-an-hour shift. These names all coming back to me. Not quite sure who that is. We are going to wait and see. Right. Let's start here, shall we? And George has kind of said it as well there. So let me talk you through kind of what's happened. So the Callum Lang thing has been rumbling along since the summer, really, if we're honest. And he has been a sought-after player that Preston have really liked for a very long time and have wanted for a very long time. Jake just WhatsApp me and put, ouch, thanks. We love you, really. We hope you had the greatest stream in the world. I was on the radio. I didn't watch it, but hopefully it was fantastic. I know Wardy was... did you drop in for a minute? Are they still on, by the way? Or have they...
No, I don't think so. I think they finished at thing is, there's one thing I will say before you carry on. This new deadline day thing, I'm still getting my head around it. Finishes at 7. Then we have like a 2-hour deal sheet, it's called, isn't it? Where you can sort of not do anything else, but everything has to be agreed. And then we now just wait forever. We could stay up until whenever to announce it. I'm still getting used to it. Did you prefer the 11 finish done, or do you prefer the 7 and then the sort of 2-hour curfew?
I think there was there a little bit more jeopardy about the 11 o'clock one, and it was like, oh, are we going to get it done in time? Whereas now it's a bit more sort of 7 o'clock, and then you've got a couple of hours. I didn't know that is there an official thing where it says like you've got 2 hours to get your deal sheet in, or is there like...
So it's, I think that I saw earlier the deal sheet thing. So both clubs have to. So it can only be the EFL deal sheet. So both EFL, if you're only going to do it if you're going to bring an EFL player in. So both teams have to have it signed. So the buying team and the selling team. I think the fee and the wage have to be agreed. I think it's sort of, I guess, last minute paperwork stuff. I presume that is.
And any sort of anything about announcements as well, I suppose, is maybe there isn't anything. Whereas if you were going to announce something, you'd rush it through before 11 o'clock, so you don't want everyone to go to sleep and miss out. Right then, should we go back and crack on? Alex has said he's been at work all day, missed most of the rumours. Alex, Finn, so we are going to go through everything with all 171 of you joining us live as well. Jack was sat there thinking, no one's going to watch this. No one is going to come in and watch this.
Did you tweet the stream, or did you just gone with no promotion?
We went with no promotion. A little bit like Portsmouth Football Club, really. Not going to have one of those for a little while. Wouldn't have thought Oxford United will either, but maybe we'll... once everything dies down and we've been through transfers and stuff, we might have a little bit of time to talk about the bottom end of the championship, and we'll see how long Wardy's willing to stay up for. Hello to James. Thank you for joining us. Messina Liar was fit all along. Yeah, so maybe this is a good place to start, actually. Sammy Schwaddick's gone to Derby, by the way. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, just seen that pop through.
hopefully you're enjoying this coverage more than the Sky coverage. I think you're maybe going to get a little bit more brutally honest and straight to the point stuff rather than dance around the fact. Yeah, so we're talking about Messina being a liar, and Wardy knows how much I love John Messino, and a lot of people watching will know how much I love John Messino, and I think every sort of Pompey fan does, and I'd be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't. Okay, maybe has questions him about his tactics previously, but doesn't in the main like John Messino and appreciate what he's done for the club. He does tend to have, however, a bit of a non-exclusive relationship with the truth when it comes to transfer windows, transfer targets, players, etc. My argument to that would be, if he gives everyone the completely brutally honest truth all the time, he is both tipping the hand of your opposition and other people that might come in for the player. He's also, if anything goes wrong with any deals that he's interested in, you worry that things break down and then he looks like an even more of an idiot because he's promised this and we haven't got it. So I don't know how you feel on the whole telling the truth all the time kind of thing, and whether he is a liar, whether he can have a non-exclusive relationship with the truth, or is it somewhere in between?
I think he's got to be careful, because if you can bluff, how many times can you bluff before people just sort of go, I don't believe anything he says?
I don't think many people do right now.
Because, you can sort of every now and again, I think it was it the opening? There was a few a few starting 11 situations like that, wasn't there, where sort of a player wasn't fit and then he sort of comes straight. And I think it might have been Copy Bishop. It might have been this season or last season, sort of, he's not going to be available, and then he throws him into the starting 11. And then it sort of was a bit of a running joke where earlier in the week, he said something like Josh Murphy isn't fit, and then he was in the starting 11. And then, you're sort of catching the bluff. And I guess that works at transfers as well. I think it's tricky. I don't think managers used to say, to be fair, sort of with an Oxford United head on, Matt Bloomfield sort of did his press conference for the game tomorrow, and he was asked about transfers and he said nothing. He basically said, similar to what you just said there, he almost said, I don't want to say anything because I'm going to be tied to that. And that's a mistake managers make. You sort of, they go, we're looking for 2 or 3. You bring in 2 and they're still unhappy because you said 2 or 3. Or you sort of put a position on it. And then if that breaks down, sort of go, well, you said we signed a striker and we didn't get that over the line. And so unfortunately, when there are so many questions being asked, you are sort of throwing yourself into a sort of a long list of questions when the truth does eventually sort of trickle through. So I don't know, mate. I think he's got to be, he knows what he's doing. Like he knows exactly what he's doing. I think I might have read that Messina said there was no chance of a striker coming in, or it was unlikely that a striker was coming in. And then 2 hours later, Jacob Brown, who's predominantly a centre forward, have come through the door. And I think that's mainly because, if something happens and he isn't through the door, then no one's going to moan at John Messina being a liar if something positive happens. They're only going to moan at John Messina being a liar if something he says doesn't happen. Which is interesting with the Lang one, because I've seen a few people in the comments, don't know how true it is, but people sort of saying that he was persistent in saying he was injured when that might not have been the case all along.
So I've got a little bit of a steer on that, and I think he is probably, and this is not putting anyone's words in any mouths, but I think the extent to his injury has perhaps been protected a little bit by this kind of rumbling along in the background. And I started this stream by talking about Callum Lang and how they've been interested from Preston. They've obviously been long-term admirers, for want of a better term, of Callum Lang, and they've wanted him for quite some time. So I have it on good authority that Callum Lang's been training in recent weeks in terms of full training. I have it on even better authority that it was training ahead of the West Brom game, and probably if he really wanted to. Brian was just going to go to bed, but now he has to stay up. Well, Brian, you can stick us on your telly or wherever you are if you're lying up in bed.
Don't worry.
I think the Callum Lang thing, he was probably more fit than was let on, and that's what it is, and we just have to go with it. And I think I saw Dan put in a second ago that you would rather lose Lang now for a fee than nothing in the summer. The flip side of that is that the reported fee was 1.75 million. I think there was an upfront of a couple of $100,000, and then it would be done in installments over the course of a contract, sort of every year, as it were, or every window.
That's normal nowadays, right?
Yeah, no, it is. But what I'm about to say is Preston's release image after they'd done the Callum Lang thingy with him actually in a Preston shirt used the term, and I quote, club record fee. If that's to be believed, and if that is the case, and you'd have thought that Preston wouldn't probably put that on their own socials, if it wasn't the case, then we're looking at north of £2 million. So I think if you're looking at that, and I've always said with Callum Lang that the best ability is availability. He hasn't been available enough. I was talking about it on BBC Solent earlier on this evening, that he is a fantastic player. I think he's a great character, and I absolutely love the man to bits. But we haven't had enough available of Callum Lang for pretty much his whole Pompey career, really. If you look at it in the main, I don't think you could argue it's been stop-start, but it also hasn't been completely fluid, and he hasn't been available for every single minute of every season, of every game. Woody, just a question for you, and you can answer this as externally or as Pompey related as you want. Do you think the Callum Lang situation, whereby in the last sort of 24, 48 hours, it all seemed to get a little bit messy, and he rumours that he maybe put in a transfer request to the club this morning in order to hurry up the process of his move to Preston? Do you think John Messino telling Andy Moon that Callum Lang was in the building at Roco this afternoon in Portsmouth when he was quite clearly in Preston is a little bit of smoke and mirrors going on there? How do you kind of perceive the tail end and the back end of this deal going through?
I think for everyone involved, I think it's fine. I do. I think it's a good deal. I think if you're going to get upwards of, and we don't know, but if it is in the region of £2 million for someone with 6 months left on their contract, I think that's absolutely fine. The only thing you'd say, with the transfer request and leaving it late, there's two big points I've got really on that. I think the first one being, are you leaving it too late to the point where you receive that money but are unable to spend that money? The second point would be, do you tarnish your reputation by handing in a transfer request? I don't think he's done that. I think from the responses I've seen from his post that he did about Portsmouth, I think, it's clear that he's from the area. It's clear that he wanted that move, and he possibly wanted that move in the summer, and it didn't materialize. So I think it comes down to those two for me. But I've got a Pompey fan here. I can ask you: does the potential idea of handing a transfer request tarnish any reputation? Does that matter? He's not going to play for Pompey again. So he did. One thing you will say: every time Lang put on a Portsmouth shirt, from what I can see, it seems as though he gave it 100%. He didn't down tools. We don't know whether or not he asked not to play, or he was being protected. You don't know. It could be the idea that he was injured, wasn't injured. Is that that could be the decision from John Messina and the football club? Don't play him, because if he gets an injury, that's £2 million that the football club could lose if he picks up an injury. And we know that he hasn't been injury free for the last couple of months, and during his time at Pompey, he has struggled with injuries. So I don't know. Until at the end of the day, no one's going to know the truth other than the football club, John Messina in particular, and Callum Lang himself, and possibly Preston. I'll be honest, I think £2 million to Preston for a player out of contract in 6 months' time is quite steep, to be fair. I think that is on the, for also a player that's had sort of substantial spells on the sideline quite recently.
So you asked about asking a Pompey fan. I would imagine probably the majority of the 290 people now, close to 300 people joining us at whatever it is, 10:15 at night. Thank you so much for your company here on 4 written all over it this evening. You can ask me, or we could ask everyone else, Wardy. North of 2 million for Langy is some good work, in all honesty, as brilliant he's been due to his lack of availability due to injury. If anything, we've got the better end of the deal. Cornish Pompey said, hearing earlier, Lang has only played 11 games, 11 months. 2.2 is better than nothing in 4 months. Thanks for your commitment. The Laura said Lang has done a job for us and deserves his move back north. And Marcus said, too many loans for me. They all go back at the end of the season. Isa's time to go. Jacob is a big fan of Jack Ward. There we go, Jacob. You are. Oh, that's Wolfie.
That's I've just replied to them.
He's one of very few fans. But there we go. Callum Who, we take the money, move on. Big game tomorrow night, 4-0 Pompey incoming from We Da Funkula. Where's the Funkula? Thank you very much for
what name that is.
That. So, reading of the room, people think it's a good deal. People also think it's probably about right for all parties involved, and I think I would probably reflect that as well. There you go. Frank's kind of wrapped it all up quite nicely there, is to say good money for an injury-prone player. He is injury-prone. When he got going, He was unbelievable, and he scored his first career hat-trick in a Portsmouth shirt against Coventry in a 4-1 win. And I think that was a real highlight of his Pompey career. We were actually saying while we were waiting for just everything to get sorted for this stream, Wardy, when we're in the studio, that Callum Lang holds a very small but perhaps special place in your heart for being the first player that you did a transfer deep dive
that was a
video.
long time ago. When did you? It was 2 years ago. No, it was a January, wasn't it?
Jan 2024. Yeah, would have been.
He's had a good. He scored against Oxford on his debut, so
he did indeed.
I think he's had a good. I think you've got a good. You've definitely. You didn't pay. It's a profit, isn't it? It's profit.
I believe it was anywhere between 250k and 500k for the fee for Callum Lang from Wigan.
Isaac's masterclass, everybody.
Yeah.
Should we go there?
No, move on. I prefer not to speak.
Move on.
If I speak, we are taken off air, and we do not want to be
careful. Let's go.
Be careful.
I reckon they've got enough money to sue us.
They certainly have got enough money to sue Fauna and over it, and we absolutely don't want that to happen. Sue.
No.
Let's chat other stuff. I know Callum Lang is going to absolutely dominate the headlines this evening. Some would say quite rightly so, and we will have a little bit more reaction for you before we leave you this evening. I am just going to pull up a list in front of me, and this is very impromptu, and I just also say that this was very much not planned to be the case this evening. I was just going to go to bed and chill out, and everything was going to be done. But this, and I've dragged Wardy away from Mrs. Jack Ward Football Podcast, so 1,000 apologies for Ellen for doing so as well. Retro said we've had a fantastic January, up the tune and all that. A fantastic January, lots of exciting players in. We'll miss Lang and banter of the. Oh my word, I just knocked my microphone out.
So get on Sky, yeah. I'll film, mate. I'll film. Retro Station Matt, he said, we've had a fantastic January, lots of exciting players in. I missed Lang and his banter. I did see that, actually. This is some stuff that someone reposted the photo shoot video that you did, and he was mic'd up. Tell you what, he did seem like a good egg. I think he did make me laugh. So I think, I think Messina said himself, didn't he, in his statement when he left, that he was going to be missed by supporters and his teammates. So are you gonna have you filled how many more personalities have you got left in that squad?
I think Ibu's a bit of a personality in there, and I'm not gonna hide away from the fact that Ibu Adams is
hanging around.
I will say this live on stream in front of 300 odd people that my first child, if they're a boy, will be called Ibu following his goal at Fratton Park in the South Coast Derby earlier on in the year. That is 100% true. And Matt said, not against him. I don't think the time is right. I don't know if the time is right. Struggling for goals. Thank you for filling, Wardy, by the way. Struggling for goals at the moment, and he's just gotten fit. We had a 1-year club extension. I would have triggered it and sold in the summer. Oh crikey, here's another Eisner one. Eisner's got to realise that they have to put some money into the team with some half-decent players. A good business all round, no guarantee he would stay fit, and he wanted the move. I wish him luck. We need to focus on our form. I'm going to come on to Caballero in a minute. Oh, by the way, this guy's name, Gustavo Caballero.
Yeah.
I'm going to take great pleasure in saying, because obviously he's a Spanish-speaking Paraguayan player, so the pronunciation.
Yeah, where did you find him?
Football Manager save, mate, is my best guess. It's just so Football Manager, isn't it? When we went on holiday, me and Wardy, he was literally playing Football Manager on his tablet for the entirety of both the journey out there and the journey back. Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. Yeah, the fun thing is going to be saying his name in videos and on bits and pieces and on podcasts or whatever. Gustavo Caballero just really sounds like an absolute matador of a man, and I can't wait to see him play. Right. Millie Ali, Ibu Adams, Kesh Jansen, Agilis, Jacob Brown, Gustavo Caballero, McIntyre gone, Callum Lang gone, and Madio Diodia. Tell me that doesn't sound like someone saying, "Oh dear, oh dear."
I don't know. This was the Fabrizio, Fabrizio bomber. He said he was the one that one sort of came out of nowhere, because this was almost this was maybe the replacement for the Scottish centre back, wasn't it? That you didn't get done or
Luke Graham
wanted
was
to
going to
do,
be
Luke
in,
Graham. So that felt
in
like
that.
the obvious candidate there. I imagine, is that a case of Tom McIntyre being released, that this is a centre back to come in? You've also got obviously Shaughnessy struggled with injury, but he could be back as well. So you've got centre backs. I don't know whether or not I'm speaking to myself. Tom is frozen. Are these back?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. So I suppose it's that one is. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know much about him. I don't think Pompey know too much about him either. I think the announcement was the South Stand. I saw Jack Hancock. I was going to steal his joke, but I was going to say he commented saying he looks awfully like the South Stand.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're always exciting, those ones. They're always exciting until they play, and then you go, oh, God. But you know, you don't really get too many of the sort of replies from football clubs that he's played for saying, is he any good? So you sort of go in there with a complete open mind. Whereas maybe the more of the EFL deals, you sort of maybe get some early perceptions that you might not want to hear when you've done a signing. But you've been busy, mate. You've been busy. You've signed a lot. I mean, don't get started on us, but you signed a fair amount.
Well, we'll take a little dive into them in a moment. There was no video from West Brom. There will be one tomorrow night at the Ipswich game. Then Pompey Chimes said, "That scammer girl on BBC Solent. It's not like our owners one bit. Did you hear their owners that they are a smaller club they own, or the smaller club that they own?" Yeah, she was lovely actually, Summer. But she isn't a fan of Sport Republic, and I can't say I am either. Hugh said, "Dare I say the window was underwhelming, significant amount of loans, leaving us having to again fill spots in the summer." Hugh, I don't know if I'm in agreement with you about underwhelming, but I would very much say that at the moment it very much feels like Pompey do their business in the summer. It's not quite enough. We stop gap in January just to stay up and then go again. It's a little bit of a vicious cycle. Mark said they can't sue everyone. Let's hope they don't sue us. Massive respect for you on Radio Solent tonight. Respect the fans well. Thank you very much indeed. Hopefully you enjoyed listening. Bob said, "Feel sorry for Moose. Can't always say what's going on. No manager does. Let him do the job. Done. Okay. The budget he gets so far."
He's done. If he keeps it, you can tell that he's obviously working with and he's sort of been dropping hints, hasn't he, in terms of interviews and stuff, that he's clearly, I mean, all managers want more money, all managers want more wiggle room in terms of incomings. They want the best squad so they can perform and see their team perform the best. But if he does keep Portsmouth in the league, I mean, you have got to be, bar what, Sheffield Wednesday, and Hull probably the lowest spenders, and to keep them in the league, or keep you in the league in that sense. And look, you've got, and also on top of that, with the injuries you've had as well, I think it would be some achievement. It would be some achievement, because I don't, if he had it his way, you probably would have hoped that Callum Lang had signed a new contract and you didn't have to sell him in January. But I mean, he clearly wasn't interested in signing a new contract, so you had to make that decision now. I think he would do it. I think he's doing extremely well. If he keeps you in the league, I think he's doing an immense job with the restrictions that he's got.
This is actually something we spoke about privately as a 4-0 sort of gathering. If Ali can play on the right, I actually quite like the idea of Ali playing up front for Pompey when Murphy is back. Really good one here. All things considered, is Callum Lang the best signing in the Hugh's era? I genuinely, and I know this is going to sound a little bit over the top, I think Callum Lang will actually go down as a bit of a modern day Pompey great, really. And I'm not going to say, he's the best signing ever, but I think in modern times, I don't think I've liked a player more, have kind of associated myself with a signing more that wasn't a homegrown talent, came in very close to the January deadline a couple of years ago, has literally taken to the place like a duck to water. And I think he will be, albeit probably the right time for him to go, he will be sorely missed.
Is he the first? Would you say he's the first player of this player trading method that has been deemed a success? I mean, and actually, if you ask Richard Hughes, perhaps, who would be the first player to sort of get that ball rolling, maybe 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, I don't think he would have gone with Callum Lang. And I think that's it, because that's quite interesting in terms of the profile of players you brought in. You signed a lot of sort of younger players, and a lot of them in the summer haven't worked out. That lad from, is it Crystal Palace, that wide player that has sort of really struggled to stay fit, he felt like was going to be the natural. I mean, Harvey Blair, another option as well. You know, these are players that obviously you felt like were going to be getting the ball rolling in that long-term player trading model, where you buy them on a cheaper basis or a cheaper, maybe in sometimes, from Premier League club and Premier League academies, and then sell them for a bigger fee. I don't think Callum Lang would have been the guy that they would have deemed the first player to do that. A player that you signed from, was it a Championship club, Wigan, at the time? They were in League One for £250,000 or something like that. I mean, that goes to show how well Callum Lang has done at a Pompey shirt. I think
did very slightly miss Josh Murphy. Perhaps
we're not talking about that though, mate. We're not talking about that. Who put that in?
Is he still on your wall behind you by any chance?
He is, but I've covered him with a plant.
Oh, he is. As long as he is.
No, I've always said with Josh Murphy, he provided the best footballing moment of my life. So I'll never begrudge him. Never begrudge him.
There goes Evan's lift to away games forevermore, mate. You're very welcome for that. Aura said, I think we have enough to stay up, but someone needs to be absolutely monumental.
Well, you've got money to spend now. No pressure.
Say that again.
You've got money to spend now. That is something that that is also a slight downside for the owners are now going to have to deal with. Everybody knows they've got decent money for Callum Lang in January, and everybody knows they probably haven't spent any of that money with it being announced with about an hour to go, probably after the deadline. So come the summer, they're going to be expecting a bit of permanent, a bit of fees, a bit of fee addition.
Yeah, I do want to doubly make sure that. So Ibu Adams, I believe, is the only player that we've actually spent any money on in the window.
And that was what, 500k?
Yeah, which I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place on this, because there will be people out there. There might be people in this chat that think we've spent literally no money. You can't be a Championship club and spend 500 grand at a January window and expect to stay up. But the other side of me, and this is where the hard place side rather than the rock side is saying, is that, well, Millie Ali and Ibu Adams have come in and hit the ground running like you wouldn't believe, and have made a monumental impact on this team and are giving us the strength and the physicality that we need, I think, personally, in order to try and climb the division. You look at the number of goal contributions between them already, it's above and beyond what a lot of players have delivered in almost two-thirds, half a season. So
I think that you're right. And obviously we know that you can spend all of the money. I think someone said to me earlier, I was sort of writing my video tomorrow where I rank every club, and I was looking at Hull, and obviously they've done 2 windows now that haven't spent. You're very welcome. 2 windows now where they haven't spent a fee or a loan player, and Hull City are 4th in the league. Now, I know that obviously perhaps their starting position was stronger than a Pompey's. They've been in the Championship for a long time, and they have spent a lot of money, hence why they're in this predicament where they can't spend any money. But money doesn't necessarily, spending lots of money doesn't guarantee that you're going to sort of achieve anything. They have to be the right players. You can spend a lot of money and you can sort of end up with lots of players that still aren't capable of achieving the expectations that your football club has. The only thing is, and I think the biggest thing that Pompey fans are probably having to think about at the moment, one thing that spending money does allow you to do, I think, is last a bit longer in that cycle. I don't know how many times or how long it would take to become a sustainable, comfortable Championship team spending little. You can probably do it for a while, but eventually I think you do have to start that movement, and that cycle does have to come, because I don't think there are many teams that have stayed in the Championship for 5 or 6 years that have probably gone and done a full season spending. How much, including the summer and January? What are we thinking? Potentially, how much do you think you spent?
It won't be any more than £3 million, I don't think.
I don't think you can do that for 3 or 4 seasons on the bounce and expect to stay in the league. You can get away with it, but I think that exciting cycle has a sort of a sell-by date, if you like, with that method.
Just very quickly, Evan, Pompey or Oxford, better window?
Let's wait and see. Come the end of whoever stays up. I don't think both of us are going to go down, so we'll find out with whoever goes down.
I hate saying, I was on the radio, but I did say on the radio that I was asked about how I'd assess the window, and I literally said, if Pompey have retained their divisional status in the second tier of English
Sit there.
football in the first week of May, it's a great window. If we
Yeah.
haven't, it's not good enough. There's the answer to that.
I think you've got more
Adams is
rope. I'd say
fantastic.
that.
He is.
I'd say that.
Look at that bloke's profile picture.
Thank you very much.
It's all right, we'll pass the
Monetization has gone straight down the drain.
The what has?
Monetization.
Yeah, that's all right. I don't think I was planning to monetize this. I don't even know if I clicked.
I was expecting a fee for this.
Oh, were you? Well, this late at night. So the amount of drives up to Oxford I've done, he owes me for a couple of bits and pieces. The rumours about Devlin going, yes. I mean, I sent a few texts around when I saw that come out sort of yesterday, or I think it was sort of Sunday was yesterday. Blimey, losing track. Basically, everyone came back to me and said that's absolute rubbish. The ownership at this football club would, for want of a better phrase, would not even entertain something like that. Dan said, one in 9, despite all of the turmoil of late. Ali and Adams have it the ground running, as we were saying just then, and makes you wonder what could be achieved if the purse strings were loosened just a little. Something else we were talking about on Solent was that, from a Pompey fan's point of view, you can be optimistic about our chances of staying up because we're treading water, and this is probably just giving us enough to get over the line. But there can also be a frustration and even an annoyance to a certain extent about how, if you had just, and know exactly what you're saying about spending the right money on the right players, and I'm looking forward to watching that video because I look forward to hearing more on what you got to say on that point. And I genuinely mean that. It's not even me taking the mick, but I think by spending, maybe do you give yourself that little bit more of a chance that it's less of a gamble if you're
you
whacking a bit of
like
cash
you say, that sell by date, and you lose that risk margin becomes slimmer. Becomes bigger. Is that right? You lose risk. I'm not quite sure what the analogy there is, but you spend more and that risk reduces, right? So yeah, that's the case. You can do it, like I said, but I don't know how many times you can do it. But the good way of getting the ball rolling, if you're not just going to say, we're willing to give you this amount of money, the only way you can do it, which has seen success with a lot of teams that haven't just pumped in cash, is by signing a very certain type of player and selling them for more money. And then you generate your own profits. It's clear that the Eisners, whatever you think about them, and this is, I promise I'm not going to go too controversial, I don't know all the facts, it would be unfair for me to do so. It's very, very clear they want to run the football club in a way of, yes, we'll provide some funds, but we also want the sheer amount of the money being spent from the players that we've brought before that you then go and sell on and you develop. Now, can you develop talents being a side fighting at the bottom end of the championship? That's the question. I don't know if you can sort of go, this is a 21-year-old winger with 0 senior minutes just coming out of the Liverpool Academy, go and make him really good, scrapping at the bottom end of the championship where you are fighting for your life. Because if someone said to you, let's say you've got Abu Adams, had a fantastic start to the season. He's 30 years of age. Let's say you've got another a destructive, sort of exciting, but similar profile to Abu Adams, but he's 21 years of age. You're always going to play Abu Adams who's 30. So because you're prioritizing staying in this league and you're prioritizing the players that are going to make an impact now. So the question is, it's clear what the model is, but can the model work if the platform is not in place to allow those players to become, unless they have really good loans, or you've got a phenomenal under 21 side that is able to sort of produce those players over a long period of time. Sort of expected a 21-year-old winger to come off the bench in the championship and make an impact and then suddenly go for £3 million in the summer. That isn't going to work, I don't think.
You've also got your lack of your League Cup games and your DFL trophies.
Exactly. You haven't got the Papa Johns. Bring back the Papa Johns, that's what I say.
No. Pompey Lewis, it doesn't matter how good Lang was. If only plays one game a month, he isn't worth keeping. 2.2 is outstanding business of player who cannot stay fit. Thanks for the.
That's a really good comment by Scott as well. Is it Scott? I'm an expert in loan and option and obligations to buy. We've had a few of them. I was quite surprised that Ali wasn't an option with an obligation to buy as well. They seem to be the in thing at the moment. And that is something that we've only started. We did our first one in the summer, Oxford, and I think we've done about 3 or 4 in this window. And I'm quite surprised why Portsmouth haven't gone down that route of giving yourself that opportunity, because someone like Ali, what you are actually doing, if you by setting an option to buy, is what the fees are going to be if you decide to do it. But actually, at the moment, you're just increasing that fee, because if you want to sign him permanently, you're allowing Luton to basically name their price come the summer.
So I I had a chat with Andy Moon, both on air and off air, about this earlier on, and he said, and I think the point absolutely should stand, about, you've got to put an option to buy in there. If it doesn't go to plan, you're kind of stuck, aren't you? And
if it's an option, you're not. An obligation, you are. Very different.
Okay, so either way, though, you're more locked in contractually, aren't you, than if it's a straight loan and we'll reassess in the summer. I actually and I completely get what you're saying, and I agree with the gentleman that's left a comment, but I actually think there's an argument to say, well, actually, do you have a little bit more flexibility and a bit more bargaining, if bartering, as it were, if you can say, okay, let's give this a go, let's see how it goes, and then there is absolutely nothing to say that we can't then renegotiate in the summer if it goes really well. What you don't want to be doing is being stuck with players who don't work out. No one people could have taken an estimated guess, couldn't they? But no one knew that Millie Ali was going to come in and make the impact on this Pompey side as he has done. Everyone's looking back in hindsight. I feel the same and going, why on earth was there not at least an option, if not an obligation, to buy in this? But I don't know. I'm not part of the negotiating.
Well,
I
think what it does is an obligation would be a case, but there's also so many complexities to it. I think we've got a few deals where it's an obligation if Oxford stay in the league, for example. So if Oxford stay in the league, we have to buy him. Or it could be an option if we stay in the league. So it could be a case of, if we stay in the league, this is the price we know we're going to play for this player. So there's lots of, and you can now do that in installments as well. There's a lot of complexities to it. But if I told you that, but then it's amazing in hindsight, isn't it? If the option to buy for Ali was £1 million and he hasn't, and he's been dreadful, you'd go, bloody hell, we're in the mud here. But now you'd sort of go, I think that's really good. So yeah, but with the option, you are giving yourself an option to not have to sort of allow Luton to basically, because Luton you could have maybe got an option for £1 million in January. If he goes and keeps you in the league and gets, let's say 5 goals and 5 assists come the summer, Luton you're gonna go back and go, that $1 million that we offered, and you said no, they're gonna go, well, we've actually decided it's now gonna be 5, and you've gone, balls, should have taken that $1 million in the January with that option. That's the only thing you're doing. You by playing him and allowing him to be good, you're only upping that price for yourself. You want to bring him in permanently in the summer. That's what the option gives you, I guess.
Hello to Liam, who said, evening chaps. I think we had a great window to judge. As you said, Tom, think Ali, Anderson, Adams have all played a good part so far. I feel confident. Hello to Miltos, who says, any chance Luton didn't agree with the option, so they get promoted, while our fellow champ player to take their asset. Always wise words from Miltos. Matt said, agree with Jack on that. If Ali turned out to be a flop, we could have walked away. It's a 6-month loan. Now, if we want to sign him, Luton will jack up the price. My gut says he won't be at Fratton Park next year. Okay, we're 37 minutes into this. It's still a really steady 300 people.
Let's keep talking. I'm enjoying it. My girlfriend's not, but I am.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm just aware that I need to be in the office first thing in the morning, but we'll keep cracking on. And I'm not complaining at all, because this is great fun and I've had a great day, but I am also extremely tired as well. But what we will do is we'll go back to what I kind of originally wanted to do about 20 minutes ago, but it's absolutely fine, because conversation takes us where it does. And by the way, keep getting your thoughts down below as well. We really want to hear what you
send some questions in. We'll answer some of them.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And any reflections you've got on Pompey's deadline day and the deals over the course of January, would absolutely love to hear it. Pompey Lewis said, the conundrum of any window is hanging. Have we improved the team? We have absolutely improved. Lang, Murphy injured consistently. Defence decimated. Suddenly we have a squad again. If there's any comment I'm going to agree with tonight, and I agree with a lot of them, Pompey Lewis is up there for the one that I agree with the most. Right, Millie Ali, we've kind of touched on at length there. I mean, we can always come back to him, because I think he's probably one of the ones that will maybe get the most conversation out of, because we kind of have the biggest sample size of time in a Pompey shirt to be able to show for it. The other big sample size we have, made his debut away at Sheffield Wednesday off the bench, was Ibu Adams. And I mentioned at the top of this show that I'm going to name my first son Ibu after his goal against St Mary's. That was obviously a massive moment, and it was the general celebration, the running down to the Fratton end, everything just endeared him to the fans. I think it's criminally underrated, although it got quite a lot of reaction when I posted it. I first heard the chant of, he can't hold a pen, we're staying up again, we've got Ibu Adams at Watford, which was great. But outside of that, Jack, I think he brings a certain tenacity, endeavour, but also a captaincy presence in the middle of the park, allows Dazelle to do his own running, not the running of two, which is a Jeff Harrisism, but I think it's absolutely true and worth mentioning. He's also got that strength and power. And yes, his on the ball stuff isn't fantastic, but off it, my word, what a player.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite surprised about. I mean, I know that he was a massive part of Derby's promotion into the Championship. I know that he was really important for them, and they spent, I think it was in the region of £1 million for him when they got promoted into the Championship. So they obviously clearly rated him, and I think he was a really, really important part for them for a long period of time. I think the biggest doubt with Ebou Adams before he was when that rumor still came about, when that rumor came about and Derby fans were having their say, was, I think technically there are a few limitations to his game, but defensively and his work against the ball, he's obviously a really, really destructive midfielder, and that was something that's lacking. I think you needed a bit of bite, and if you want bite, Ebou Adams brings you that. If you want that sort of box to box presence and that player that can sort of go, how's he ended up in there? How's he won the ball in that position? He was back there a second ago. I think that he's exactly that kind of player that can offer that. And it does show that, you're also looking to, bring in players that are maybe at those latter years of their career, and are still ready to make an impact, and still have shown they can do it. So I think it was, I mean, it's amazing. I think Ebou Adams probably would have been ranked maybe a 5 or a 6 out of 10, but when he was first announced, he's played 2 or 3 games and suddenly he's an 8 or a 9 out of 10. That's the difference between a player that signs and you sort of get that instant reaction to a player that's played 2 or 3 games and looks really good. So I think it looks like a really smart coup, and already he's probably paid back that £500,000 in terms of the impact he's made.
Massive thank you to Miltos, who has sorted us out for the summer transfer window budget there with the super sticker. Yep. Thank you very much for that.
By, one of Ali's laces, maybe.
Yeah, there is always that. It is a steal at 500k, absolutely. A massive fan of Ibu, absolutely something we've definitely been needing for a while. Jack's a closet Pompey fan. Thoughts on that? Haven't heard that before.
Yeah, I've just seen someone say, I'm shocked he's got a girlfriend.
Oh, so, that's a shame. I'm not, mate.
Well, he said he's got a girlfriend, lol. So maybe he's sort of going, he's got a girlfriend. Why is he talking about Pompey at 20 to 11? Or how's he got a girlfriend? He's horrible looking. I'm taking it, you decide. I
have to say, it's not great either way you look at it, really, is it? Let's be honest. It's not fantastic.
Yeah, neither
is the perfect piece of the puddle we were missing, absolute unit. Piece of the puzzle we were missing, absolute unit, is a great engine. Always wins those second balls that we seem to lose out on. And Harry, you are absolutely right. And Dan will attest to my annoyance at a number of loose balls that drop and how we constantly turn to each other in the south stand and go, oh my word, we've lost that one out again. Gives us something else. Why do some fans want the owners out? Who would buy the club someone worse? Let's not go down that road. Josh said, I'm sure that's not me saying don't go down that road. That's just what that person said there. Shock Portsmouth haven't bought an essential midfielder. Adams Dazelle, gets injured. We will have Paxworth, Dazelle, LaRue. That's very concerning.
Sorry, I missed that. Sorry.
Yeah, just sort of central midfield cover, and I kind of get it, but I think Marlon, as much as he's maybe not got the turning circle he would perhaps like these days, is can always do a job as a captain in there. I actually bizarrely, and some people might turn around and say you're talking absolute coswobble, Tom. I like Luke LaRue. I like him a lot more than I think John Messino likes him, and I've been gutted at and let's be honest, he's not played in particularly brilliant Pompey performances all round. And there's an argument for someone like Conor Ogilvie always seems to either play in a game where Pompey win or don't lose. I don't think we very rarely get beaten when Conor Ogilvie plays. So maybe there's an argument to say that players make their own team a lot better, and there are certain players that do that. I don't feel like Luke LaRue's ever been played in a particularly brilliant Pompey starting 11. He's always kind of been in there on that third game of the week where Messino's completely thrown the game and gone, you know what, whatever happens here. I've put this team out and they've got to go out and do their very best. I think he gets roped at 45 minutes if he's had a slightly subpar performance. He was roped away at Hull. He was roped away at Bristol City. I personally don't think we've seen enough of Luke LaRue, and that's not me singing his praises because I have very little to go off. I like the way he looks after his ball. I think his passing is really tidy, and I think he's got a little bit of bite in there that you want. So, yeah, I mean, in answer to your question, I still think the Luke Larue chat is, yeah,
That's a perfect example. How old is Luke Larue? Do we know? Have we got an age?
Should we ask our friend Grok?
Let's say I'm going to presume he's probably
He's 25.
Okay, that's actually older than I thought. But in terms of, he's almost that example of, ideally you bring him in for a lower fee and then you go and try and sell him on if he's a success. But again, that is only possible. That is only possible if you're going to give him that opportunity to play. So right now, his value is only either decreasing or staying the same. Are you in a position where John Mousinho was Luke Larue the number one midfield target in the summer? Probably not, based on what we've seen and what that, the opportunity he's been given. So he looks like he clearly is going to favour Abu Adams, as you'd expect. So that's the thing, isn't it? I think if that's the risk you take. The platform probably isn't there yet to give an opportunity to a player when you've got to prioritise picking players that are going to, and Luke Larue might be that player, but Abu Adams is going to play for Luke Larue, isn't he? That's just going to happen.
No, absolutely. Let's get back to this list. Keshi Anderson.
I forgot about him.
Yeah, you probably, interestingly, know a little bit more about him than most would, if you care to explain, or do you maybe not?
Because of the Birmingham?
Because of the Birmingham stuff.
Probably not much more. I think I would say, compared to the wingers that Birmingham have brought in, that he wasn't going to play many games for them. I'd say that quite fairly. I think it was pretty clear that he was unhappy at Birmingham. I think it was pretty clear that he wanted to leave. I think the quotes that we've seen and read of his since his departure suggested that perhaps he felt like he should have had a bigger opportunity or a better opportunity of starting more games at Birmingham. But when they're going and signing £7 million wingers from La Liga, I'm not quite sure. Bless Keshi Anderson that is going to get in there as easily. But I think he's 30, isn't he? So he is again someone that is probably at the latter end of his career. He had a decent League One sort of period when in his career before. I think he's done pretty well in those divisions, slightly lower than the Championship. I guess the one thing I would say about Anderson is low risk, I suppose. I don't imagine it's a long-term contract. It's obviously a free transfer. It's not one I'm jumping up and down about, but it's a body and he's a wide player. Yeah, not much more I can sort of say to that.
Cracking transfer window, but a shame for Murphy to be out a little while longer. Do you think any of the new players from today can be in the squad tomorrow? The only one I would say is, I get to say his name again, Gustavo Caballero, is he's been basically doing a tour of Portsea Island. Was spotted in the Village Hotel in Portsmouth, which I've actually stayed in after our work night out at Christmas, which was yeah, it was good fun. When away teams, I was chatting to one of the receptionists, and when away teams come down to Pompey, they quite often close 2 floors of that hotel and have all the teams all stay in that hotel. So if you ever wanted to go and, I don't know, set off some fireworks, that might be where they find them. That's obviously a friend of a friend's told me that, and I wouldn't condone such action.
Know that. There's a comment from it is Scott Talker. I think I've called him out twice now with comments. I could be wrong. Surrounding Colby Bishop. Would you say you've got enough, and I'm saying this after a 3-0 win for Pompey, so perhaps this is a redundant question, but have you got enough goals in that Portsmouth team now? Do you feel you come out of the window feeling you've got more goals? I don't think Jacob Brown has been prolific in recent seasons. I could be wrong there. I don't think he hasn't been this season. He hasn't really had too much of an opportunity.
So Ali and Adams have already scored, haven't they?
So yeah, you've added goals in that department.
Sorry, that last thing I was going to say. Gustavo Harmer? Bloody hell, that'd be nice if we had him, wouldn't it? Gustavo Caballero is probably the only one I would say, and where I was going with the Village thing is probably the only one I would say that might be signed in time because he was seen in the Village. Sorry, so you were talking about Which one we
You've got
talking
the
about?
goals in the squad. We had a conversation on holiday. I don't think Tom will mind me asking. Asking. I'm just going to say it anyway. Where we had the chat about Colby Bishop, and there's a lot of sort of chat about whether or not Colby Bishop. I think it's fair to say he hasn't been scoring the number of goals that perhaps he has been previously in a Pompey shirt, and having a striker that scores goals is significant, and could be the difference between getting relegated and staying in the league. But signing a striker is very, very difficult for Pompey because they know that if they come in, they're not going to probably take the spot of Colby Bishop. That's again a reason why players like is it Kirk, Mackenzie Kirk? Is that right? I mixed two players together. That isn't the right guy.
You're spot on.
Players like it's so it's so difficult for those players to develop as well because it's very unlikely they're going to get 5 games on the bounce up front if Colby Bishop is fit and available. They might get the game every now and again, but he isn't going to play 5 games. And with Jacob Brown, he isn't going to play 5 games on the bounce unless Colby Bishop is injured. So a strike, someone said there, are we going to sign a striker or is Colby Bishop going to score the number of goals we need to score? I'll be honest, I think Colby Bishop is going to play whether you like it or not. He's probably going to play regardless anyway. And signing a striker that is a really in-demand good one, if you like, is going to be very, very difficult to attract when you've got someone like Bishop who is going to play.
So the answer to that is, I think, somewhere along the lines of Ali playing as a striker is certainly an option for us at the moment because he played the back end of the game at the weekend in place of Colby Bishop. I actually thought it looked like he really wanted it and just got up there and did the job and did really well. You're completely right. Messino has gone on record on various different fan forums and press conferences, whatever, saying that, not completely quoting him, but for want of a better phrase, there is no real reason why we would recruit an expensive striker because we have Colby Bishop and he's going to start every week, was basically what he was saying, but not saying.
It's the same problem that Tottenham had for a long time, obviously on a different scale. But there was a period where it was sort of like, do Tottenham need to sign a backup striker? And you're sort of going through the list and you're thinking, well, nobody's going to join Tottenham when they know that Harry Kane's going to play every single week. It's only until Harry Kane left, they're now looking at their options and probably thinking, well, to be Dominic Solanke scored 2 at the weekend, didn't he? But it's the same. It's the same
back heel.
Yeah, what a goal that was. But it's that thing, isn't it? Where it's like you're not, which striker is going to go and come in? An informed striker isn't going to come in if they know they're going to be sort of second choice. So it's not an easy position to recruit for Pompey, is it? Unless Colby Bishop is eventually dropped, but I don't see that happening. I think he probably offers to Messino more than just goals.
Are there seriously, and I'm going to build on what Miles has just said there, are there seriously strikers waiting at football clubs that are good enough or better than Colby Bishop to come in and go, oh yeah, I'll go and play for Pompey and try and compete for my place? And there's so many easier destinations for an out-and-out number 9 to go to. And I think, you're talking about Colby's lack of goals, and only very recently have we kind of returned to this direct style of football that actually benefits a player like Colby Bishop. Beforehand, and when we were absolutely getting not torn apart every week, but when we were struggling at the bottom end, and right in the doldrums and on a really, really rubbish run of form, we were playing a style of football that was very much not suited to Colby Bishop's strengths. That's not me completely defending his lack of goal scoring, because he's a striker. He should be scoring goals. His number 1 primary job. He's not. When you get your goal, did I go there?
I think you dropped out. I was wondering whether I've dropped out.
Not when a team is not playing to your strengths. I think is always an uphill battle. As I said, he's not scored enough goals, and I think by his own admission, he's not scored enough goals. You can argue, and I will argue, Connor Chaplin has not scored enough goals, and if we're all honest with ourselves, if Connor Chaplin wasn't a Pompey fan, if he wasn't a boyhood local, or say hero, or if he hadn't come through the academy at this club, gone on to play in the Premier League and do everything he's done in this illustrious career, and then come back and made the ultimate return.
Yeah.
How excited were we all for him to come back in and come
Scott,
and make this impact?
It gave me an 11,000 view channel, 11,000 view YouTube video. People
Right.
were over the moon about it. People were absolutely delighted by it.
Do you remember when I rang you? Do you remember how excited I was?
The whole fan base, it was unbelievable. The fan base,
Right.
it was such a. But it's one of them, isn't it? We're all clever. We're all good football fans, aren't we? Where it's like, if he wasn't Connor Chaplin, you don't get as long. You don't get as long, but you sort of you can sort of you buy your time a little bit. If that's Jacob Brown that comes in and provides the same output as Connor Chaplin did in his first 6 months of a loan deal, I think people's perceptions are very different. So yeah, I think the reason why Connor Chaplin is one of them where Connor Chaplin is good. You don't turn a bad footballer overnight. Eventually, he must come good. He can't be that bad forever, can he? Because we know what he can do. He's done it higher than the level that Pompey are currently at.
Connor Chaplin has had a massive goal drought, and he has, said the other night that he always scores in a league season. Obviously, he's now had his moment of hometown glory, shall we say, for the second time of asking. Fingers crossed, that was massively a moment where he kicks on. But if you don't score for half a season, again, not playing in a striker's role, and he hasn't exactly been playing in a suited position. Jeff said to me a little while ago, if you put a brilliant, pristine engine in a banged out old car, that's not exactly gonna work wonders, is it? And if you're in an Ipswich Town team where you've got all of a sudden Leif Davis doing a spin and off he goes, and you've got some absolutely brilliant world class players in there that are all,
I don't think the service is quite the same, isn't it? Is it?
My point entirely. So I think you got to allow for a little bit of an adjustment period. I don't think you allow for quite the adjustment period that we kind of have given Connor Chaplin, because as lots of people have quite rightly pointed out, if Connor Chaplin's name was Florian Bianchini, he'd be, completely ousted out the door, because he's not one of our own, and there's no association there.
He's an attacker with one goal in 20 odd games.
Right, there you go. But because it is the heart on the sleeve Pompey fan story, and I am an absolute sucker for this because I love Connor Chaplin so much, and I think he's fantastic, and I love both the man and the player he is, right? And never get that twisted, because he's fantastic. And as you say, don't turn a bad player overnight. But that lack of goals is alarming. He's played every minute he's been fit and available in this John Messino side. Note how John Messino cites his professionalism, his work ethic, his leadership in the interview after the game once he'd got his goal. He's been steadfast in that. Like press conference after press conference, John Messino has always gone, Chap is working away at it, it's going to come, everyone's really backing him. And you wouldn't expect your manager to turn on a player, right? And I'm not saying that's the expectation, but Messino's kept pushing him. You should have seen the reaction of the boys all around him in the front and end when he'd finally scored. Told the front and end to do one in not those words, which I think I kind of like. Bit of pent up frustration, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So yeah, he's hoping that Connor Chaplin very much kicks on now, and we see a more of a goal scoring prowess from him, because I think we certainly need it. Let's go to Agilis. I think we can maybe sort of very quickly go into, but not with an awful lot of massive magnified detail, because I don't think either of us know an awful lot about him. I certainly haven't seen him play either in a Pompey shirt or a Sunderland shirt. What I would say is, from the reviews from our friends in the Northeast in red and white, the word on the street is absolutely brilliant, but is very rarely fit and available, ready to be called upon. Where have we heard that before?
Sound familiar? But
it's one of those where there will be people out there that go, well, Pompey haven't learned, have they, from previous misdemeanors? And we are still recruiting these players that have terrible injury records and can't get in sides because they're unavailable, whatever it is. The flip side of that is, okay, you take a punt, you see what happens. He may stay fit, and he would be an awful lot more valuable to us, and probably the only reason why he's at Portsmouth Football Club is because he does have that injury record, and therefore the talent of the player isn't quite as guaranteed to be able to see on a week by week basis, because he's got this record that he just can't stay fit. An annoyance within the fan base is, well, there have been so many of these risks taken on players
that's the risk you take. That's the risk you have to take if you're not going to spend as much as the other clubs in the league.
So if you're a sustainable football club, you can't get away with, you've got to be shopping in these waters. You've got to be in this market, because there's a chance that he turns out like has just come through there, a Rob Atkinson type player, whereby, and I know he ended up getting injured towards the end in a Pompey shirt, but you have a period whereby he's fit and available. I think it's easy to sort of couple the two up, between the Australian risk and the having played English football risk, because the Australian risk is more of a, yes, England and Australia have brilliant cultural ties and are, it makes a lot of sense from a lot of points of view. Their seasons are shorter, their conditioning is different, their games are different, the style of play is different. So you can kind of see where the issues lie there. I don't think I've seen Hayden Matthews complete a game of football without cramping up by the end of it, right? And that's, maybe Segacic is the exception to the rule, but he's not just played in Australia previously. The flip side is taking punts on someone like Agilis and knowing he can't get fit, or knowing he hasn't had a run on the side, knowing all of that, and still going, yeah, we'll take him on loan. Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. So, and I think the same goes for the, his name's evading me, young lad from Crystal Palace that we...
Umar.
Yeah, Franco Ume, that played for a handful of minutes, chasing a lost course 4-1 down against Arsenal in the FA Cup, a game that we were out of, and then tears a hammy. Cheers for coming.
Well, to be fair, and I don't know if you just mentioned it there, but even, Josh Murphy, who was a massive part of your ability to stay in the league last season and retain that championship status, he was phenomenal during that period in the second half of the League One campaign when Oxford United got promoted. Everybody speaks about the goal he scored and the 2 goals he scored at Wembley that, of course, won us that game. But people also do seem to forget, and this isn't me sort of going, I told you so, but he was at the club for 2.5 years. And everyone sort of goes, Josh Murphy must have been, we signed him way before he scored those 2 goals at Wembley against Bolton. And because a large bulk of that time he was injured. It just so happened that you signed him when he was in his best form in sort of that stage of his career after some difficult moves. But I think Murphy, didn't he get injured in a pre-season friendly the summer we bought you? I think he hobbled off against Charlton or something like that. So it was, and obviously he hasn't necessarily been injury-free since he signed for you, although he did thankfully stay fit for a large chunk of last season and enough of the season for him to contribute the amount of assists and goals that he contributed anyway. But I think every single one of your signings has had those injury risks to them. But like you say, you have to sort of fish in those waters if you are going to go around it sort of with financial, I don't want to say constraints, but if you're not going to spend
they are constraints. Yeah, they are constraints. We've discussed Jacob Brown at the top. We've spoken at length about Gustavo Caballero, who, again, I said earlier on, is probably the most likely to be involved tomorrow of any of the players. Haven't mentioned Tom McIntyre yet this evening. There is probably no need to. I think he's a great guy, and I just think
another guy that struggled with injuries, right?
Yeah, it was injuries, and it was around about sort of this time last year, really. I think I remembered he dropped an absolute stinker away at Plymouth, and I thought, there's a very good chance we won't see you play in a Pompey shirt too many more times, and lo and behold, so I wish Tom McIntyre all the very best. We'll have a close word on Callum Lang in just a moment, because where we were going to sit here for 15 minutes and it's been well over an hour and there's still fringe of people with us. Madio Dia, oh dear, That's not going to be able to get out of my head. Wardy, thoughts
on
Madio Dio?
Where do you want me to start, mate? You throw me right under the bus there. I'll be honest, guys. I could sit here late at night and say that I know an awful lot about him, but I don't. I think it's interesting that you've gone in for another centre back. I think that probably says a little bit more about your current situation, and perhaps says a little bit about where those current players are. You know, like you say, Hayden Matthews is a player that you haven't seen play for 90. Shaughnessy struggled with injuries. I know Regan Paul's had his injuries, but he's been fit, I believe, for the most of this season. I don't think Regan Paul. I think he might have just about weathered the storm. Bless him. He's had about 16 different centre-back partners, but he might get a new one. It does also show that he's someone at the age that he is that's going to come in and be the player that hopefully can develop. I imagine that seems to be the age that he is. He's not going to, he's not coming in at 26. He's coming in, I imagine, to learn the ropes a little bit. I don't think he's played in England before as well, so that's going to be quite interesting physically. But yeah, came out of nowhere, really. Came out of nowhere. But I think he is someone that hopefully is. I haven't seen his injury record. Someone checked that. I'm sure someone has checked it, but I imagine he's someone that comes in with a with the idea that it's probably looking at short, but mostly medium to long term, I guess.
Well, that is just about it. The headline and the title on this thing says Callum Lang leaves Pompey. He has left Pompey. We're led to believe that it's a club record fee that Preston have paid, which I think, as we've already discussed at length tonight, is good for all round for everyone involved. And we send Callum Lang all our very best. Again, I think very rarely I kind of am this emotionally and sort of footballing wise attached to a player.
Don't cry. It's all right.
No. I want to cry about it. He's going to cry in a minute. It's getting late. Yeah, very, very rarely do I feel this much. It is emotion really about a player, because you can very quickly become really, really sort of fond of a footballer when he's playing well for the team that you've loved and supported all your life. And Callum Lang was very much one of those people. So we send him all our best, and we wish him all the best, and he will be welcome back with open arms to Fratton Park anytime he likes. I just really hope he doesn't score against us away at Deepdale on Saturday. And spoiler alert to, you've all stayed late enough to hear this, so it's not actually a great spoiler, really. It's a little bit of disappointing news. I won't actually be at the Preston game this weekend.
Why?
You're
not say why?
Prefer not to speak.
That's the first game in 800 years.
Don't say that. It's the first game in. To be fair, it's not the first game that I've not been at, because there's plenty of games I've not done videos at. But there's not been many games that I haven't been to. I give you another exclusive. I'm actually at another football game that day. I know, how shocking is that? That's where we'll leave it for tonight. Wardy, any closing words? Thank you. Sorry for.
Can I go to bed? No, it's been. Tom did very literally call me up about just 9:30, and I thought we've created some. I've dragged him up to Oxford a few times. I've sort of rearranged.
This is not me repaid completely.
No, I don't pay him a penny. You sort of see the videos that we've done on my channel. Tom hasn't seen any of that money. So I'll be expecting the £2.50 super sticker, whatever it's called, transferred into my bank account by 9:00 tomorrow. It's a super sticker. I need to start doing lives. I'm missing out on so much money here. All you've done is an hour, and someone's giving you £5.
Well, Miltos, mate. Miltos is a legend.
This is a joke. I need to start live streaming.
They will be. They're coming back tomorrow, so we'll have a video for you tomorrow. Myself, Andrew, Dan, and Reese. It is a big one tomorrow. Yeah, it's. Wouldn't it be lovely if we won, eh? It'd be lovely if we won.
Oh, we got tomorrow. Oh, we're playing it. Oh God, going Bramwell Lane, aren't we? Well, I'm not. Of course, I'm not. But we're away at Sheffield United. Oh, not confident. Not
Also,
confident.
don't tell anyone. If you see this shirt worn in the intro of the video tomorrow, it's definitely not because the intro was filmed tonight and not tomorrow. Because Dad and I are traveling separately to Fratton Park tomorrow. It's definitely not the reason why I'm wearing the same shirt
You're
as I am
releasing all the exclusives these days, aren't
tomorrow.
you?
Well, people are late enough; they can have a little bit of the movie magic behind the scenes of how far and over it goes. Let's end up on this, and I would rather. I was going to say a rude word there. Peel all my skin off and roll around in salt and go to that place. Don't know who you could possibly be talking about there, but I think we'll leave that one there. Wardy score tomorrow for the mighty Pompey. Give us an Oxford United score as well if you fancy it.
You are at home tomorrow. I'm going to say Ipswich struggled away. I'm going to say 1-1. I think we'll probably lose 3-0.
Nice. Last minute, Gustavo Caballero winner, 1-0 Pompey, if he's registered in time. Yes, mate, there is, Evan, and you certainly won't be in it. And on that note, we will bid you farewell. Thank you to you for sticking with us until 12 minutes past 11 on a Monday evening. What are you doing with yourselves? Sleep well. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you very soon. Thanks, Wardy.
Take care, everybody. Good to catch up.
Good night.